Strategic coach is jumping to a whole new level in the marketplace, and I began to see the possibility of this because I have so many of the entrepreneurs in Strategic Coach who, using the 10 times mindset in the program, the exercise 10 times mindset, took some part of their business. Now, it could be their profits, it could be their revenues, or it could be a new venture, it could be a new innovation, it could be a new product, and they've gone 10 times with it. Or they've taken their quality of life, and in combination with how much money they're making and free time that they're taking and just focusing on their unique ability, they've taken their entrepreneurial success, putting a lot of things together, what they would totally consider that they've gone 10 times with it. And as I began having discussions with hundreds, literally hundreds now, of entrepreneurs who are now in the U times 10 program, I began to see that we could organize every person's thinking in what I would call a graduate school level of unique ability, and that is a concept that I call the 10 times purpose. And what the 10 times purpose means is that we can now identify a single focus and a single activity that would keep you absolutely fascinated and motivated for the rest of your life. I'm just going to go over that again because it's kind of a very, very abnormal thought in 21st century where people's attention is going all over the place and they're involved in hundreds of things. What I'm saying is that because you're in Strategic Coach and because you have the benefit of all the work that you've done in Strategic Coach, which includes unique ability, you are now at a point where you can actually organize the rest of your life, and I'm talking about your business life, and I'm talking about your personal life. You can now organize every aspect of your life around a single focus and activity that would keep you absolutely fascinated and motivated for the rest of your life. And this, as I brought out this concept, it has just had a mind-changing, almost like a reality-changing impact on the thinking of my most advanced U times 10 participants, multipliers, because I call everybody in Strategic Coach now a multiplier. And what it's done is that it's given them just an amazing criteria, almost like a single filter, to actually look at their day-by-day activity and say, is this an activity that really fascinates and motivates me? And the answer is, well, partially. Okay, so it's part of it. Or no. And then say, well, I have to get rid of that then. And so what we're going through is this amazing shedding of enormous numbers of activities among our participants in Strategic Coach, where before they were doing 10 things and now they're doing 2 things, but it's giving them such incredible energy and it's giving them such incredible enthusiasm in what they're doing. So what we've said is that this is the very, very center of Strategic Coach. All of Strategic Coach now starts with the answering of this question. And the whole activity of answering this question we call the 10 times purpose. We have a process around the 10 times purpose where we simply ask you to go through a thinking process, which is kind of like a negative process where I simply say, maybe you don't exactly know the answer right now of what the activity is that would keep you fascinated and motivated for the rest of your life. But I bet you can tell me 4 or 5 things that it's not. These are things that you're doing right now on a quarterly basis. Maybe they're using up 50 to 100 hours on a quarterly basis. I bet you can tell me right now that there's 5 things that aren't the answer to this question. So I'll have you write out those 5, the not this. So if you think of all of your activity in a quarter as a box, a rectangular box, I could draw lines and say, well, it's not this, so I've divided it in half, and I could do it again, and it's not this, and it's not this, and it's not this. And what happened is I'm taking the box and I'm breaking it down into smaller and smaller areas, and it's not this, and it's not this, and it's not this, and it's not this. And then you get to a point where the only thing that's left is this. And once you get to this, this is the single focus and activity that would keep me absolutely fascinated and motivated for the rest of my life. And we've cleared away everything else. It's almost like Michelangelo, the great sculptor Michelangelo, they asked him, how do you do it? How do you create those statues? And he says, well, I get a big block of stone, and inside of that stone is a statue, and what I do is I just get rid of all the marble that isn't the statue. And so inside your box, there's something in the center that always keeps you fascinated and motivated. And, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 25 years from now, you would be even more fascinated and motivated. But what we have to do is, like Michelangelo, we have to chip away everything that isn't that focus and activity. And every time we chip away something, you get a burst of energy, you get a burst of freedom from these things that are not this. And then after a while, the statue emerges. You can begin to see this activity. And then we can take that very small part of the box that we, got down to a very small box, and this is it. And then we can go through the reverse, and it's this, and it's this, and it's this. So it expands and fills up all your time, and it fills up all of your activity. And what amazing multiplier that will be. So the whole idea that you could spend your whole life focused on a single activity is just mind-boggling to most people. How could I ever do it? The even thought of it, it makes me squirm in my chair. How could you do it? And I said, well, yeah, but I said, you have to understand the question. I'm not asking you to focus on something that's going to bore you and demotivate you for the rest of your life. I'm asking you that we're going to zero in on something that would always keep you fascinated, so you would never be bored, and you would always be motivated. And they say, well, I don't know how that's possible. And I said, yeah, but when you first started being an entrepreneur, you didn't know how your present level of success was going to be possible either, and here you are. So you grew into it, you made changes, you made improvements, you learned, you experienced new things. It's the same thing with this concept. But 90 days after you start in on the 10 times purpose, you're going to be incredibly clearer about this, more confident about it, with a greater sense of capability than you are today. So we're going to learn and grow and develop and expand with the answer to the question the same way that you've done with every other concept that has brought simplicity into your life in Strategic Coach. People come to me and say, okay, Dan, so what's the answer to your question? And the question, what fascinates and motivates me for the rest of my life? And that is, if for the rest of my life I could just spend day in and day out in the activity of engaging in discussion and conversation with talented, successful, and ambitious entrepreneurs who want to grow 10 times, I just want to have that discussion with them and ask them questions and make suggestions and design strategies for them and new thinking tools. And if I could do that for the rest of my life, I would be fascinated and motivated. Not only would I be that way, but every year I would be more fascinated and motivated than the year before. So interestingly, as I get older, I'm actually going to get more fascinated and motivated. That is an amazing realization for myself, and I want to share that realization with everybody else in Strategic Coach. So if you could, for the rest of your life, and you know, of course, because of Strategic Coach, you live a lot longer, you have much longer careers than anyone who's not in Strategic Coach. If during every year that you were doing this, the sense of fascination and the sense of motivation grew quarter by quarter, year by year. What an amazing way to live your life.